My name is AJ Fox. I use they, them pronouns. I'm the Director of Religious Education. And whole worship spaces often do have nurseries available for a particular age group. And one of us took a nap at 11 o'clock yesterday morning. So I have this lovely mother over here. And if Nearing can't sit still, Nearing and my lovely mother are going to go downstairs and let the 4, and 5, and 6-year-olds practice coloring together. But we'll see. Thank you. Can you go sit with Grandma Donna? Yes, please.
Don't lean.
Okay, don't lean over the mic. And also, we'll see. Whole worship's about everybody being in the space together on friendly terms. So today we're going to talk bodies, human bodies, in all their goopiness and squishiness and creakiness and fallibility, and also beauty. While we will be speaking in language that is trying to be aware of impact, we will be talking about issues of body image, body inclusion, gender dysphoria, and trans healthcare, and also we will be talking about abortion and abortion access. There was a poster in an alternative bookstore that I often frequented as a youth in this town that featured a green and purple Medusa ink print image, her head covered in writhing snakes. And beneath the image of Medusa were the words, "Beauty must be defined as what we are, or else the concept itself is our enemy. To see beauty is simply to learn the private language of meaning, which is another's life. To recognize and relish what is." The poster finished, "Why languish in the shadow of a standard we cannot personify, an ideal we cannot live?" This month at First View U, we have been exploring the theme of nurturing beauty. The beauty of a highly functional and interconnected community, the beauty of relationship, the beauty of the earth. But also beauty can evoke the physical, and it has been part of systemic oppression for eons. After all, Medusa was turned into her horrid form, green and so ugly she was able to turn a man to stone as punishment for her perceived transgressions. Beauty was something to be taken from her. And beauty standards have been so thoroughly weaponized that it is deep in our understanding of ourselves and others. Our concepts of beauty are not just impacted by lenses of evolution and early exposure, they are also limited and whittled away at by white supremacy, heterosis normativities, restrictive patriarchal narratives, and our capitalism consumption culture. And so, when asked to give a title for this service, I sent back the title, Beyond Beauty, Body Diversity, Body Neutrality, and Body Autonomy. Hey, y'all in the front, I want you to try this word, y'all too. Or phrase, 2 words, body diversity. Can everybody say that? Body diversity. Fox, did you try it? Body diversity, did you try the words? No? Okay, that's cool. In this community, virtual and in person together, there are so many of us, so many different bodies. And our first Unitarian Universalist principles calls on us to view the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And our 6th principle calls on us to work for justice for all. Yet our larger culture has left a lot of bias in each of our brains, stamped deep in our neural networks. We are all unlearning ugly and building beloved community together. In a world where plane seats are 17.5 inches and ADA standards for disability inclusion are rarely fully met in public spaces, inherent worth, dignity, and justice are high bars. One way that many churches including Unitarian Universalist churches, are trying to live into values of inclusion is to look at their sanctuaries and evaluate the way that these spaces can become part of the solution. The decisions about the way churches offer inclusive spaces are complex, though. We, for better or for worse, get a lot of passes because of our status as a religious institution. So we really are left, in a way that many spaces are not, on our own to make sure we have curing disabilities covered in our space, to make sure that everyone can see, make sure everyone can move throughout our space. How do we make sure that these people, all of us, can participate in our space? Are our speakers, and I'm so bad at this, pausing to allow not only for hearing, but for auditory processing? Is that a scented candle that's going to trigger a migraine for someone in the sanctuary? It's not. Is that large print copy of the hymn available? I don't have answers for all these questions, but I do firmly believe that whole worship is part of the solution. But there will be many more solutions to find as we work to create welcome and dismantle the systems of exclusion that become apparent as we work to include all bodies in this space. The next phrase is body neutrality. Does anybody want to try that one?
Body neutrality.
Body neutrality. We read a book downstairs together and at my home together a lot, and that book is called Bodies Are Cool. This book will be read at the very end of service. It is not a token offering for only the youngest among us. It is a mantra for each of us. This book is going to show bodies, and it's going to show bodies doing cool things, bodies of all types. But it isn't body positivity exactly. It's much closer to body neutrality. Body neutrality. See, humans took body and we bound it up in all these layers of culture, of those things, that long list I gave before: white supremacy, patriarchy, capitalism. And so ugly became anything besides that, which, spoiler alert, is most of us. And I'm not going to list the ideals because they don't deserve space in this space. But for many of us, those ideals have become part of our experience of being human. They've been an unachievable and constant murmur in our brain. And the body positivity movement bit back at that and said, all bodies are beautiful, everybody is perfect. And that works for some people and for some bodies and for some minutes. It made perfect sense as a reaction to the toxic gunk part of the beauty culture. But it didn't ring true for a lot of folks, pure body positivity. Maria Sorbra Mora phrases it like this: body neutrality has its foundations in what your body does, not how it looks. That shifts the focus from controlling it to finding gratitude for it. What does your body allow you to do? To take an adventuresome walk, to hug your loved ones, to experience a sumptuous meal, etc. Body neutrality communicates that our bodies are vehicles that, when treated with care, can sometimes become vibrant vessels for life to move through them. For many, this takes the pressure to love our bodies all the time off the metaphorical table, and we can begin to cultivate joy, listen to our needs, and provide for those needs. Because the body doesn't have to be beautiful and perfect and glorious to be worthy of care. Because sometimes the body isn't a positive thing. Sometimes the body is essentially this meat sack moist robot suit that cradles the brain, which of course is where a whole lot of the action of being alive happens. And if you, at this particular moment in your life, hit power on in the morning of your meat suit and go out upon the day, that's good for you. But for a whole lot of us, in various ways, either across our entire lives or for periods of our lives, we don't have that experience. The meat suit gets glitchy. The check engine light starts flashing at the most inopportune moments. There's a problem with a little joint or organ system. Author Casey Davis didn't come up with the idea of body neutrality, but she is the author of a book that's going around that's called How to Keep House While You Are Drowning, and an incredibly vibrant TikTok account called Domestic Blisters, where she explains her take on what she calls struggle care. And as a side note, if I say kitchen sink or laundry pile, and somewhere in your heart you flinch, she is your people. Domestic Blisters. But her work on making self-care accessible dovetails tightly with body neutrality. And she sums it up like this: forget about what pop psychology did to the term self-care. All it means is to care for self, your body, your mind, your space. And here is the great news. You do not have to care about yourself to care for yourself. You do not have to care about yourself to care for yourself. What Casey Davis is saying is that things, love and kindness from others and ourselves, the right to rest, the right to connection with others, the right to find recreation, has to be dissected from our perceptions of ourselves as worthy based on these other things, body in this case, but a whole lot of these other morally neutral or should be morally neutral things. The body neutrality movement is trying to disentangle the cycles of shame and morality that come to many of us when it comes to bodies. And it starts by simply taking inventory of the things your body can do regularly. If you would like to begin integrating body neutrality into your spiritual practice or way of being in the world, one way is to just list the things your body can do and the experiences it gives you. The last phrase is body autonomy, which is often also said bodily autonomy. And I know that a bunch of us as adults in the room have already practiced bodily autonomy as a phrase for the last, well, it's been in the courts a while now, off and on. But let's try that phrase, body autonomy.
Body autonomy.
As we start, at the start, we talked about the first principle, inherent worth and dignity of every person, and the sixth, justice for all. And right now in this country, boy howdy, does that apply to bodies. There seems to be a real issue with folks trying to control other people's bodies in this country. And that pretty directly stands in opposition to our shared Unitarian Universalist values. Some of these struggles are old, but simultaneously somehow picking up steam again. The struggle for the right to choose or not to choose pregnancy is under direct attack in this country right now. And the trauma of that timeline on people cannot be overstated. In the words of Reverend Leslie, supposed to practice the say pronunciations beforehand, Leslie Ahuva Fails, who uses she, her, hers pronouns, check the First UU Facebook page for the Braver Riser repost if you want to read the whole post from her. She says, if I didn't understand it before birthing 2 children, now I know it in my bones. Motherhood must be a choice. It cannot be chosen for us. To force any person to undergo this transformation against their will is an act of unspeakable cruelty. And simultaneously, trans healthcare, especially healthcare to trans youth, is under attack. The right to choose how to be in a body. There's something different from body image happening with gender. Gender dysphoria and gender euphoria are not the same as body image, although the beauty standards of the culture aren't doing trans people any favors either. Body neutrality can be a tool in the toolbox of those struggling with gender dysphoria, but it is not a solution. It's a tool for getting through the bad days, but in the case of trans people, healthcare, including access to gender-affirming hormones and surgeries, is the solution often, and it is a vital justice issue. And both of these current dialogues about the right to control other people's bodies are questions of body autonomy. They are questions of how people are choosing to conduct life within their bodies in opposition to how others feel they should. Our Unitarian Universalist values affirm so wholeheartedly our support for each of us to be together and simultaneously be ourselves, to choose what happens to our bodies, to choose how we express our bodies, and to find ways to exist together with each of our bodies and beings included and our autonomy honored. That Medusa poster, with its phrase, "Beauty must be defined as what we are, or else the concept itself is our enemy," speaks to the way that beauty can be weaponized, and the release we find when we move beyond the cultural descriptions of beauty into an understanding of the body and our relationship with our own body and our relationship with the bodies of others as one of inclusion and acceptance. It is our values. It is not a moment in time, it is a dance that we will continue to do over and over and over, together in our sometimes imperfect, but always beloved bodies. Thank you, friends.